Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be showing you how to do beginners half square knots. So what you'll need for this is these 4 strings. So I've tied them on as before with the 2 lark's head knots, which will equal 4 strings here. So to make it a little bit easier to explain the technique, I'm going to label up these strings. So string number 1 is on my left, string number 2, string number 3, and string number 4 is on my right. So what we're going to do is take string number 1 from our left hand side and bring that over the top and across all the other strings there. And to me that looks a bit like how I would write a number 4 shape. You could also think of it as a little triangle, but I find thinking of it as a number 4 is a little bit more helpful. So string number 1 has gone over the top and across all the other strings. We're now going to grab string number 4 on our right, and we're going to bring it over the top of the tail of string number 1 here. So what I do is I pop my hand over the top of string number 1, and then I place string number 4 over the top of my hand so that I've got them in the right order there. So string number 4 should be at the front. Now I'm going to remove my hand and it should be in the correct place here. Now what we need to do is grabbing string number 4, we're going to take it diagonally underneath those middle 2 strings to this hole on the left hand side here. So string number 4 comes diagonally underneath the middle 2 to the hole on the left, and then we grab string number 4 where you can see I'm holding it in between my 2 fingers there. We're going to grab the loose end of string number 4 and we're going to put it all the way through that hole on the left like that. And what you'll be left with is a shape that looks like this. And this will help us tell if we've done it correctly. So we've got string number 1 going over the top of the middle 2 strings, and string number 4 is underneath those middle 2 strings. So what we now need to do is tighten it up. So we're going to grab these 2 loose strings on either side and give them a pull. And we're going to keep on pulling until it sits just underneath these 2 lark's head knots. So what I do is I pop my thumb down on those middle 2 strings as I'm tightening up those strings there on the outside. Now with the tension, I like to call it a Goldilocks situation. So we're looking for the tightness of the knot to be kind of a medium amount of tension. We don't want it too tight that it's going to get all tangled and twisted, and we don't want it so loose that it's going to come undone. So a medium amount of tension is what we're looking for. And what we've made is this horizontal line there going across the middle 2 strings. We've got this little bit of a kind of a lump on the right hand side. And this is your half square knot. So we're going to do that again. So we're going to take string number 1, bringing it over the top, then we're going to grab string number 4 and bring it over the top of the tail of string number 1. Then string number 4 comes underneath the middle 2, so take it to the back and go diagonally to your left and pull that loose string all the way through. So we're back to that weird shape again, where we've got string number 1 going over the middle 2 strings and string number 4 is going underneath those middle 2 strings. And then again we're going to grab those 2 on the outside and pull to tighten. Now if you were to do this in a chain working your way down, what you're going to end up making is a beautiful spiral shape. So I'm going to carry on doing that and show you how to make this spiral. So we're going to take string number 1 again and bringing it over to make that number 4 shape, that forwards 4. I'm going to keep on doing this, and what's going to happen is it's going to start spiraling over to the right hand side. Now, if you're working down on a flat surface, it will begin to get difficult to make the knots because the spiral is beginning to twist, and you can see string number 1 wants to come over to the right hand side. It's beginning to kind of fly up here in midair. So if you do have it down on a table, what we're going to need to do is switch the outer 2 strings over just to make it easier for us to make the knots, and it will encourage that spiral to form. If you are doing this up against the wall or hanging it over a door or hanging it up on a rail with some S-hooks there, you don't have to do this part because it'll just be easier when it's hanging down vertically to be able to just carry on spiraling around. It's more so if you're working on a table that you'll have to switch these over. So when your string starts coming over like mine has like this, what we need to do is move string number 1 over to the right. So I'm going to grab string number 1 and I'm going to take it over the top of all the other strings there and bring it to the right hand side here. So that is now the new string number 4. The old string number 4 I'm going to take underneath the middle 2 strings and I'm going to move it over to the left hand side so that it becomes the new string number 1. And then we just carry on as we did before. So with the new string number 1, we're bringing that over the top and across to make our number 4 shape, and we continue like that. So any time that your string on the left hand side starts to want to curl over to the right, that's a good indication that we need to swap over those 2 outer strings. Now we can do that, these are interchangeable because these are called working strings. So the working strings, as the name says, they make all of the knots there. They do the hard work making the knots. The middle 2 strings are called filler strings. They are basically the spine, the backbone of our knot, and they should just sit nice and neat side by side there so that the outer 2 working strings can grip onto them. In terms of the neatness, trying to get a really lovely spiral shape, it's very important to make sure that these middle 2 strings stay nice and neat side by side. They may naturally kind of curve around with the spiral, but what we don't want is for them to sit over the top of each other or get tangled up. So keep those 2 nice and neat side by side there. So consistency of the knots is key here. So we want to make sure that the tension is consistent. And like I said, it's usually best to go for the Goldilocks situation where we've got a medium amount of tension. But if you are pulling it a little bit tighter or a little bit looser, make sure you keep it loose or make sure you keep it tight. Because if you do a couple of knots, they're a little bit loose, and then a couple of knots that are a bit tighter, you're going to start to make a really messy spiral. And that was one of my biggest mistakes when I first started, that I was doing the technique, but my tension was all over the place. And that usually comes with a little bit of practice there. So just try and keep these in line with each other and keep it the same consistency when you're doing the tension. And that's going to help to make a really lovely, neat spiral. To me as well, they also look a little bit like pieces of DNA. I've had people say they look a little bit like the pasta as well. So however you want to think of them, they're these beautiful spirals and we want to keep them really nice and neat. And there we have our beautiful spiral shape. For more how-to craft videos, hit like and subscribe below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.